The local economy has recorded a fourth consecutive quarter of growth with a 1.2% GDP expansion. That was in the second quarter of the year. According to Statistics South Africa, the economy is still 1.4% smaller than it was before the COVID-19 pandemic, though. The agriculture, forestry and fishing sector representing the biggest growth in the primary sector at 6.2%. Let's get you more on the performance of the sector. We're joined now by Ronnie Mckenzie. He's the president of Farmers United South Africa. Ronnie, thanks very much for joining us this morning on the AM report. Some really encouraging numbers coming from your sector. Is it where we hoped it would be, though? All right, Ronnie, it does appear that you've muted your call to us. Do you want to just push that button and start your answer again?
Yeah, good morning, Michelle, and good morning to the listeners out there.
Got you. So interesting growth numbers from your sector. In terms of what your projections were saying before the release of those numbers from Statistics South Africa, is this where you reckoned you would be?
Well, Michelle, I will not dispute, nor will I actually confirm these numbers that have been released by Stats SA. However, I can say they're very impressive. They actually give hope. They give hope to farmers out there in terms of those margins that have been shown for the second quarter. Mm-hmm. However, as a black farmer or any black farmers out there, I don't think there's anything for us to be celebrating on this or can pride ourselves on this. As what I find very odd is that with whatever interviews that were conducted, I wonder where is it that they were conducted, because most definitely not with any of our farmers or any agriculturists that I know that are black that could have been actually tested on this. And it just gets to say a whole lot that, we're still very far as blacks, especially in the industry, where we now find that, it's the industry, it's now, there's a terminology that I would say corporatization of the industry, agriculture, where it's not anymore in a farmer's hands or in agriculture's hands. It's now lying in corporate SA. Mm-hmm. That's where these figures are from, not from farmers.
So 6.2%, these are the numbers according to Statistics South Africa between quarter one and quarter two. But what has your experience been?
Well, our experience is no different from where it's always been. The struggle goes on. We are still struggling as black farmers, per se, if I've got to be speaking now, on the industry, and where it's still hurting most is that there is no that significant change, if any, that we can say we can pride ourselves as food producers of this country and would like to be part of the mainstream economy, so that when such is released, we can say, yes, indeed, we are there, we are impactful, we are part of this economy.
What were your growth numbers specifically from some of your members, Ronnie? What are they reporting the growth numbers, if anything, between quarter one and quarter two?
What a question. Growth, really. There's no growth, there's decline in terms of our members, in terms of what should be growth. We are seeing farmers actually, those that had an interest actually exiting, and we are seeing more of the so-called corporate people with monies from corporate coming into the industry, thinking there's money to be made in the industry. But as for real farmers, those are actually throwing the towel because it's tough.
And the survival of the farmers that you're talking about, is it at the point now where it is actually hanging in the balance?
You can say that again. Looking at how things have been turning out, one can say so, that it is really hanging in the balance, where most are now getting into this very corporatization, where you literally sit back and allow corporate to take over your farm. They'll give you agronomists, they'll give you all the type of people. They will be pushing whatever is being pushed on your farm. You just sit back and just be observing. They will be telling you this is that. Failure to actually meeting all of that requirements or them breaking that even or getting whatever it is that they projected, chances of you losing that land or your farm are very high.
I mean, some of the comments coming from analysts in the sector broadly talking about production increasing in the face of increased demands, despite COVID-19, as South Africa remains at home, during the lockdown. Exports apparently also doing so well. According to analysts, Ronnie, these are some of the things that they are saying. You're telling quite the opposite of that story. What happens now?
What needs to happen, Michelle, on this is that we need to be realistic. We need to be realistic. Analysts will be speaking from what is put on their desks at most times, which are just reports that will be coming. Let's look at this growth that is being spoken about. Supposedly this growth is actually in corporate, where they manage to hire more people in terms of them going and doing inspections, the oversight and whatever's on our farms, where they have now, what are the outputs that these analysts are basing themselves on, and from who are these outputs that they are basing themselves on? The growth in the agricultural sector. Those are just part of the questions that we should be asking ourselves. As Ronnie Mckenzie, I don't recall any stats essay or anybody coming to interview me, nor any of my members, with over 3,000 odd members, FUSA under it. I do not know of anyone that says that a particular interview has been done with us in terms of input, outputs, etc., our growth margins, and so forth.
I mean, Ronnie, in terms of whether you've communicated the feelings of your members, of the 3,000 members that are under you and part of Farmers United South Africa, if you were to do that, if you were to say the numbers that have been reflected in terms of positive growth, it's one of the few sectors that are contributing to positive growth in GDP. These numbers are not what we are experiencing. Where would you take that story in government?
Where would one take the story in government is that we are lacking, government is lacking in a very big way an agricultural department. We do not have such. As much as, I mean, these figures, where are they coming from?
Yeah.
These figures are coming from your banks.
Yeah.
Look, where's Land Bank today? Let's be realistic. Where's Land Bank today that's supposed to be the one that's releasing part of all these figures that have been spoken about? But we've got who? We've got your Obaros, we've got your Senvest, we've got your FNBs, Upsize, name it. Those are the people that have released. Those are the ones that have corporatized the agricultural space. So it's not necessarily that agriculture per se or farmers per se are growing or getting any better, or the industry, farmers can say, yes, I pride myself that I have, taken this much out this season.
Yeah. Ronnie Mckenzie tells us that this is not the good news story that on the face of it, it seems to be. He speaks on behalf of Farmers United South Africa. The agriculture, forestry and fisheries industries recording positive growth, we were told, from Statistics South Africa, with 6.2% between Q1 and Q2. Farmers United South Africa saying those numbers are certainly not reflected in their members. That's a big story that certainly we need to be following up on. Ronnie, thanks very much for your time indeed on the show this morning.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Have a lovely day.
And you too. Thank you.